Hey everyone, we're live. Welcome to the Maverix Lifestyles Rogue Hangout. It's Alicia Drew here and John Paul Argentino to my side here. And we also have the lovely Sheena Yap Chan all the way from Canada and the lovely Regina Floyd from Hawaii, which is really awesome. And we want to thank you all for coming out today. And, our regulars, we thank you for coming out each week. And if you are brand new, introduce yourself in the chat below. We'd love to hear from you. Any thoughts, comments that you may have, we're always open and really wanting to connect with you all. So today we have a question for you. Are you running your job or is your job running you? Now, there are many phrases that go along with this, and I'm going to throw a few out there just before we get started that you may have heard or you may have even been guilty of saying yourself at one point or another. And most of them go a little something like this. My job won't let me. What will people at my work think? What if my job finds out? I can't get time off to go and do that. My job won't let me do this. My job requires me to act a certain way 24/7. Now, I know that all of you have heard those phrases at some point in time, and I'm sure that you've all said them at some point in time as well. And what we want to press upon everybody today is that you don't have to live your life this way. You don't have to have these limiting beliefs that are going to stop you from doing what you ultimately want to do in life. So with that being said, I think I'll throw it over to Regina today to get us started on this topic. I'm sure she's not expecting this. Putting her on the spot here, but yeah, we're really excited to hear what you have to say on this topic with your background, and I'll just throw it over to you to get us started.
Yeah, I think we had talked on a previous hangout where I worked as a police sergeant in Las Vegas, actually supervising a whole squad of men and women on the Las Vegas Strip. And ironically, having a job where you have the authority to carry a gun and a badge and the authority to actually take the freedoms of other people, of course, within reason. These are people that are breaking the law and things like that. But having that authority to take people's freedoms, be an authority figure in a sense, and yet have to ask for lunch, have to let someone know you're going to go to the bathroom, not being able to have time off if a family member needed it, or many mornings getting off Christmas morning and having to rush home quickly with a toddler in the house, expecting Christmas to happen, and I've been working all night. So yeah, it was interesting, and I think that was one of the biggest things why I became a pursuer of freedom, because although I love my job and it was adrenaline rush and just no night was the same, I really felt trapped. And I just thought, what the irony of that, to be the person carrying the handcuffs, to have the ability to take the freedom of another, yet feeling so trapped. And one of the statements that you said there that really rang true with me was the one about having to live by another person's standards really 24/7. Because maybe a lot of people don't realize that as a police officer and as law enforcement, not only are you held to a certain standard on the job, believe it or not, you're held to a certain standard off the job as well. I didn't have the freedom to go home and just be who, if I wanted to be crazy, just go home and be crazy. And then when I went to work on my Monday, put my uniform on and I'm a different person. I actually had to be very careful and think out everything I did because it could not bring a bad light onto the department. And I imagine maybe people that have a military background understand this, because I think it's very similar, where you can be on your time off, but you don't do anything to make the military look bad by your actions. And so, I mean, if my neighbor started trouble with me, I didn't even have the freedom to maybe just spew whatever I wanted to say. Had to be super careful. Couldn't go out and get into some altercation. I just had to really, really kind of walk on eggshells living my life, to be very careful because I was living by the company standards. Now, of course, I signed up for that, right? That was part of the job, until it became just not how I want to live anymore. And that's when I made a choice to pursue what I'm doing now. And now I live a lot on my own terms, and I've become very spoiled because I just have the freedom to be me. Now, strangely enough, I don't do anything crazy, by some people's terms, I'm still pretty straight-laced. But, you know, if I wanted to do something, I could within reason, of course, right, without violating law. I still am a law-abiding citizen. But so that's kind of my take on it. So I love this topic because as much as I love the job and it paid very, very well, I was having to live by the standards of another person, having to live by company standards. I had to behave in a certain way. At my job, and I'm sure many, you know, there's the politically correct way to behave, right? I couldn't go to my job and talk about my faith while working, even though I came across people in some of the worst times of their life when maybe a little word of encouragement from maybe a faith background might have been helpful. I had to be very, very careful how I said it, if I said anything, because I could get in trouble for sharing my faith. So that's just kind of my take on it, my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think that how you were saying, you know, how you couldn't even share your faith, you know, regardless of the religious belief, but also just your overall philosophy on life as a whole. You know, sometimes we're afraid just to even share that with others, and that was, to me, was the most hindering part of it. Is, you know, a lot of times when you're put into a leadership role, you know, a lot of times, well, we don't just arbitrarily raise our hand and say, "Yep, I'm a leader." What happens is you are thrown into that role, into a supervisory role. You know, other people believe in you, and really you're not considered a leader until other people basically put you into that role. And sometimes, you know, there is that responsibility that comes with it, but also there's also the, you know, the handcuffs that get put on yourself in a way of saying, okay, well, how do I lead in a certain way while also telling that line all the time? You know, there could be parts of your religion, you know, certain stories or certain examples that you could call on, and that really help you explain a situation, and then you can't do that. You know, you having to just toe that line was so hard. At least for me, it was as well. I kind of went through that. You know, there was times where, and the only way for me to relate to certain coworkers of mine or even like subordinates of mine was to just explain, like share my own life experiences that could have related to him by saying, hey man, you know, I've been in your shoes exactly. You know, I've screwed up a lot. Here's how I screwed up. Here's how I move forward. And I couldn't share some of those experiences because it was, you know, how do I want to word it? I don't even know how to word it now. It wasn't really fraternizing. It was just you were just always on eggshells. Like even now, I don't even know how to explain the line. That's the problem. There's an imaginary line to cross, but we don't even know what the line is. And that was the problem. You know, that really is it right there. Is there's a line that you can cross, but you don't know where it is. So it's like out of bounds is the fence. Now out of bounds is the driveway. Now out of bounds is the bush at the other end of the driveway. You know, so there's always these other defining parts that working in the typical job that really strips you away of just communicating effectively and saying, you know, I've been in your shoes and I've walked that path, and it's not a fun path to go on. But sometimes you just have to let it happen to the other person, regardless of how much it hurts and it sucks. And you just have to let it go, even though you could have really helped change someone's life in the process. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, was what was almost like putting handcuffs on myself within my own job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very restricting. I think
yeah.
You feel restricted. You feel like you can't even live. And, you know, when most of us, I think most jobs, is the majority of our life. I know there's some number out there where they talk about how much we work, you know, sleep and all that. And for those who have jobs, it's a huge part of your life. You know, I don't know if it's like 70, 80%, but when you feel like you're just like this in a cage for that big portion of your life, it's difficult. It's challenging.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it boils down to first becoming aware that that's what's going on in your life, and I think that's also what we want to press upon people today, to show that, you know, first of all, become aware of your life and what it is that you're actually doing. You know, is your job, you know, caging you? Is your job trapping you? Is it not allowing you to do the things that you really want to do? And we get into this, you know, programming and pattern that a lot of the times we forget what we wanted to do. I think we spoke a little bit about this last week. You know, a lot of people get so stuck in the rut of going to the job day in and day out that they forget what they're passionate about. They don't even remember what their dream was.
What was that quote you said earlier from Ben Franklin?
From Benjamin Franklin, he said that, I'll actually pull it up because I'll probably get it wrong. One of those things I want to get word for word. It's quite short, but it's quite powerful. Benjamin Franklin, he said, some people die at 25 and aren't buried until 75. Some people die at 25 and aren't buried until 75. And that is just so powerful when you think about it, because it's so true.
And that was, I don't even know what the year span was where Benjamin Franklin lived in, but either way, you know, at the beginning of our nation, that was huge, because he even recognized it back then, that was the same pattern way back then, and the same pattern's still going on now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, to break free of that was something where that's what he set up to do originally. That's where he got that, because he recognized that that's what was happening to the people before him and the people that he was already leading as well. And I think, you know, when he started, was it Ben Franklin that started like the almanac? Like the, I forget what it was. He started something, but then he went on to run like a printing press, and he was always busy. Like the guy was, you know, I want to say on a totally different level, because he really was, you know, with how many people that he had working for him and things like that later on. It was just phenomenal how much the guy accomplished in his life. But he had realized that from the beginning that, you know, by the time someone's 30 years old, most of the times if they haven't really went towards their dreams, they've pretty much been squashed way down and repressed. And then they've just let the job mentality just run its course over top of it, saying, you know, this is as good as it's ever going to get. You know, this is the only step you can take is by climbing this ladder within the corporate companies and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I was always been a firm believer of the leapfrog effect. You know, I would always see people within a career path, and everybody say, well, this is the defined career path. You just got to get your foot in the door, and then you got to work your way up the ladder. And I was like, man, just getting my foot in the door, I want to kick the door down and just go, hey, I know I can do that way better. You know, I know that there's some real screwed up procedures here, and we can make an improvement. But it takes, I'll just say, it just takes a lot of brass ones to really be that guy, to do that, or that girl, just to go in there and say, you know, it's a little bit of ego mixed in with a lot of oomph behind it. You know, of saying, you know what, I have that drive behind it to do that. And when you do that in a company level, like in a corporate level, number one, you paint a big target on your back, you know, or from a lot of people that were in the same, like in that same area. And two, you gain a lot of respect from people up above. It's either respect, admiration, or else it's just total, just we don't want nothing to do with it. It works sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. But a lot of people will leapfrog from job to job and just career hop from one company up to another one, and then sometimes do lateral moves and just keep doing like the job shuffle and continue to climb and continue to climb. And it doesn't always work out. Sorry, I just got dust in my eye. But you know, obviously it doesn't work out, but it takes some big brass ones to do that. And I realized early on that, you know, okay, well, that's just me. I have that. I'm the one that will raise my hand and say, hey, you know, that really sucks doing it that way. You know, we're losing so much time. Here's the math on it. Look how much money we're losing. Yada yada yada. Like breaking it all down. Well, at that point, I didn't care what anybody else thought of that. I just said, hey, you know, you guys know that it's wrong that way and it's not working. You know, we identified it, but I never questioned what will people think of me that way. You know, I just said, hey, that's just it. You know, and outside of it, you know, the same thing is in terms of running your own company outside of your own job. You know, if you want to be the entrepreneur and you want to be the crafter of your own lifestyle and really take your own life by the horns, you need to have that, you know, and don't let anybody kill that. You know, protect it and just keep going after it, because, you know, for me it was, we always kept saying, oh, well, to be an entrepreneur, it's all about the sacrifice. And I looked back and I said, well, crap, I've been sacrificing for years, and how good has that been panning out for me? And that was whenever, you know, I felt like I was a caged animal. I felt like my back was up against the wall. I felt like a caged animal. I was like, I've got so much to offer, you know, I'm always going to continue to learn and grow, and I just want to share that with people. And, you know, the people that love me are, you know, shaking me and saying, hey, you're so smart, you know, why aren't you doing what you really were good at doing and doing something good with your life? don't be afraid to just say, you know what, they're right. I should be doing something good with my life. And that's what being the entrepreneur is actually about. It really is about saying, I don't care what the people think. It's about saying, you know, they're looking at us as the entrepreneur because they don't have the cojones to go out and do it themselves. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. They don't have the brass enough to go out and do it themselves. So there's got to be people like us that actually can raise up and say, you know what, you're right, I will go out and do it. Mm-hmm. You know, because even whenever I found that the job that I was looking for, someone said this to me when I fired them one time. Is they said, well, I was looking for this job when I found it. You know, I'll be looking for another job when I find it too. And so really, what's the worst that's going to happen by actually standing up and saying, you know what, I actually can build my business on the side. I actually can do what I want to do, you know. Because really, all you actually have is a behavioral agreement to go work for a certain amount of hours and act a certain way to normally either sell a certain product if you're retail, or to it's whatever service you have to provide. You know, if you're a radiologist, you're going to go examine X-rays and work in the hospital and behave that way for that X amount of time, and that's it. You know. And that's what's cool about being an entrepreneur. You know, you can do consulting work, you can do all kinds of stuff where people need a different mindset to look at things and analyze things in a totally different way. Mm-hmm. And that's why, you know, commerce doesn't happen without people like us. It really doesn't. New jobs aren't created. You know, so when you're an entrepreneur and you want to go out and actually go after your dream, you know, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is that makes you happy. If you just want to sit on a boat and, you know, I don't even know what, study dolphins and make, you know, 40 grand a year studying dolphins. Go study dolphins if that's what makes you happy. Just do it. Mm-hmm. You know, because at least you're going to be happy doing that.
Yeah, don't hit 75 years old and say, oh, well, I should have done that.
Yeah. You're going to be like, damn, remember when we used to study the dolphins? That was fun back then. You wouldn't care about the money you were making. You just
the cool thing is we now know how to make money doing that. We know how to make money sharing what our passion is.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Cool. We can go and see dolphins and share that with people that love dolphins, and guess what? We know how to make money sharing our passion and showing other people how to do the same. Mm-hmm. Does it get any cooler than that?
Yeah, it doesn't.
No, it really doesn't. You know, there was Mick Fanning today. This is what's cool. Mick Fanning is a surfer, and I was thinking earlier, I was like, man, this has got to be like one of the best like jobs in the world. This guy gets to go out and surf and get paid to surf for a living. And, you know, he gets to swim every day. He's healthy. Now there's a big cost associated with that, and today was one of those examples, is he got attacked by a shark.
Yeah, the video went viral almost immediately. I'm sure both of you saw that today.
Yeah, but, you know, there was a cost associated with it, but, you know, years later on, you know, he's going to be cheersing a beer with his buddies and saying, man, that was crazy, you know? But we did that. But they're monetizing all that now. You know, all the web traffic, everything that's with it, you know,
and you know, people within our community have probably already written blog posts about it.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm sure that they have. You know, and you know, you take advantage of a situation that people are interested in, and you don't just shove it out there in front of people. You write some valuable content to go with it, and some sort of analogy to people who are going after their dreams, like Mick Fanning is, and nothing is going to stop him. Yeah.
My pastor used it in his message this morning.
Aha, see?
Like he took that and used it as a part of the message because he had watched, you know, had seen the thing, and he's been here, of course, surfers everywhere. And I'm just like, wow, that's entrepreneurial there.
It is. I love that. You know, it's a prime example of how can we look at this situation and how can we get a powerful message out to the people using that situation that turned out like amazingly well. I think it's a miracle that, you know, at least a leg or an arm of his wasn't bitten off. Like, it's unbelievable to me that he actually, I think he said he punched the shark too, and I mean, that's pretty badass, to say that.
Yeah, you gotta punch their eyes.
I punched a shark. I mean, I'm like, that's awesome, but, you know, that's the price he pays to live his dream. He's aware that, you know, his dream requires him to be in the shark's home. That's not our home. That's the shark's home, and he would expect that. So I think it's just so amazing that he survived that, and you know, all of us, so many of us are going to get motivation and send out a message to people from that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and even then, he's got sponsors above him that require him to act a certain way and do certain things. So really, if push ever came to shove, I'm pretty sure that if he wanted to, he could probably go, call up a bunch of his buddies and say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go on the world's biggest quest. We're just going to max out our credit cards. We're going to fly all over the world. We're going to take a film crew with us, and we're just going to surf our tails off. Hopefully we won't get ate by sharks, but let's go do this and just record it all, and let's just go just have some fun. And all of a sudden, what's going to happen? I guarantee you that would be just blown out of the water with everybody around. Even people that don't surf love just to watch that kind of stuff, because it's just something that a lot of people can relate to, just the escape of it. And, again, it boils down to like, oh, I don't want people at my job to find out, that I'm perhaps building my legacy on the side. Well, really, what does it matter? What does it really matter to what someone would think? There's only one caveat to this that I would say I can understand if someone's a little bit upset and peeved. If you are the CEO of the company and you're taking your whole thing in a different direction, big problem. That is a huge problem. You're going to have a board of directors up your tail and probably be off the company really fast. But that's the one thing where you know what you're getting into there. And I think we were talking before. I think we were talking at the end of our last hangout last week. We were talking about how anytime like I'll get frustrated, it's always just I like the little messages that pop up. I didn't even know we could do that.
I was about to say I didn't know we
how
could
did
do
you
that
do
either.
that? I just got
Technology moves so fast.
So
There's
we
so
had-
many features going on that we can't keep up.
Yeah.
He gets very easily distracted.
Oh yeah, I'm a YouTube nut. If I get on YouTube, I'm gone.
Well, just this morning I was looking at him and he was on YouTube and I said, you are the epitome of the person that gets lost in the abyss of YouTube videos. I said, you just are. Like the related content, like he'll be on there for hours just getting lost in this realm of different videos.
Yeah.
So,
And I always end up back at the Sphinx in Egypt somehow. Somehow it all ends up back there, and I don't know what happened. But but really, I've had people at my job. I remember back whenever I was first starting in the retail industry, and the sales team that I had underneath me at the time and around me, we were always constantly coaching them to a higher level. And when I told some of my teammates one time that I wanted to go and actually learn how to be a realtor and actually learn how to sell houses, that was something I always wanted to do. So, at first they were like, why do you want to go and do that? And I was like, well, I see all these guys coming into work with they've got the things that I want. They've got the family, they've got the motorcycles, they've got the fast cars, they've got what I thought that I wanted, that's where it all came from. So I went out and I pursued it. But the whole time they're always like, well, what are you just going to keep working here while you're doing that? Like, what are you going like? What's going on with it? And I was like, you could be a little bit more supportive of it and saying, hey, congrats to you, man. Congrats to you. Go out there and learn to do what you want to do. You always have a place here with us. But at the back of there was always that underlying thing of like, hey, dude, why are you trying to get out of here? Like, are we not good enough? And sometimes it's like saying, you know what? No, it's not good enough because it's not good enough for me because I don't accept mediocrity. I don't want this. I'm turning around saying it's good. It's not saying that it's good enough because realizing that it's not good enough is number one. Number two is just kicking not good enough in the ass and going after what you want. I watched a clip the other day of Joe Rogan, how he said, be the hero in your own movie. And, right now, at least in America and probably half the world, all the big movie studios are just making superhero movie after superhero movie after superhero movie. And that's just where all the money's at right now for them. So they're going to keep going into that and doing it. Well, that's great. And what I realize is I love watching movies like that. Why do I like watching them? I don't know. I was a comic book nut as a kid. That's why I like watching it. I just like finally seeing the stuff that, in my imagination, is coming to life finally. Well, that's great. But really being the star of your own movie, and as I was like, hey, someone had to write that, and they had to basically create this whole big world for all this stuff that existed. And I was looking back at it, well, man, it would be cool one day if there was like a movie made out of my life. And I was like, well, shit, it ain't never going to happen if I keep living the way I'm living. It's going to be boring. I will be the most boring movie ever. If I was to ever have a movie made out about me, I couldn't have any cool starring movie actor, play my life. So I was kind of really taken in and going, that I couldn't be the star of my own movie even if I wanted to, And that's what really kicked me in the pants the other day. I was like, man, am I really being my own? Like, am I living like my own rock star life? Am I doing the things that I want to do? And a lot of it was no, we weren't. And that was, to me, was a big wake-up call, saying, you know what, we live in such a cool time in the world, is that we can have whatever we want at our fingertips. Information is just there. Whatever you really want to have. You can get overloaded with anything. You just have to ask the right questions on it.
Yeah.
So it's just mind-blowing.
It is, and it's just mind-blowing that the amount of people that do accept mediocrity and average in their life and saying things like, oh, it's good enough. Well, to me, good enough is not good enough. If I create something or if I do something and I say, oh, that's good enough, that to me it's not good enough. I mean, I'm actually plagued by my own perfectionism with everything I do, and that's why it takes me a very long time to get things done, but it's only because of that. I want it to be the best it can possibly be. Good enough is not good enough to me.
Yeah.
So it's when we realize that there are going to be a ton of people around you that are, average and willing to accept the way their life is, and that's okay. And, some people are going to be supportive of you, but most people probably won't be, because you're out there on a limb, like what you were saying. You're doing something different, and they turn around and go, oh, hang on a minute.
Yeah,
you're doing this.
One of my favorite ones was I had one person, and you'll get this too sometimes, you'll get the person that does, the people that do kind of support you, but then at the end of the day that they're eating their own crap sandwich because they're like, oh man, well when you get there, don't forget about me. Like, come back whenever you get that, whatever it is that you're chasing, Like, don't, like, there's always that one thing where it's like, I'm kind of supportive but not, but it's saying, hey, I'm accepting my own mediocrity.
And they're the people that will always turn around once you're having success or you've created a result and be like, oh, so what is that thing you're doing? And they might want to look into it more. So it's very interesting, and I want to bring Sheena out here because I know that you used to work full-time, I think, when you first started building this business, and then you made a decision to quit working, and now you build this business full-time. So tell us about your full-time job world experience.
Well, I was at my job for 12 years. Don't get me wrong, I actually liked what I did. I liked the people, I liked the clients that I dealt with because they were always very appreciative of what I've done for them, and that was one of the reasons why I stayed so long, because of the people who I dealt with. It was really something that I couldn't see myself doing. I mean, there'd be days where I'm just sitting at my little cubicle thinking, was this all there is to life? Like, am I gonna, like, work here for the next 30 years and then just retire like it's nothing? And, that scared the shit out of me. Like, it was freaky and more, right? And a part of me, thought it's too scary to do anything out there, right? It's too scary for me to try something new. So I stayed at my job. That was another reason I stayed, because I was so scared. Sometimes being a woman in the workplace, we feel like there's nothing out there for us because we're women, and you have to realize that you are a woman and you can do so many things out there. I mean, I had to go through a lot of things, considering I was like the only woman, who would work with a bunch of guys, and sometimes that's not easy, right? When you have ideas and they shut you down because you're a woman. You want to ask for a raise and they're telling you you're overpaid, right? Because you're a woman. And one time I even tried to apply for another job because I was like, maybe it's time I switch jobs, because at the time I was in my 20s, I was young, and the one thing I wanted to do was work in downtown Toronto. Like, if you've ever been to downtown Toronto, it's just awesome, right? Like, there's like so many things out there, and that was one of my dreams, to work down there. So I was looking for jobs there, and I told a coworker, and he was just like, if you go work downtown, you won't get as much money as you will now because you're a woman. And I believed him, right? It screwed me for the rest of my life. And you know, at that time, I was never into self-development. I never knew any better, and I thought, okay, maybe he's right. Maybe I can't get that job because I'm a woman. So I stayed. You know, and these are all the wrong reasons why you stay in a job, right? And because of that, I was, you know, I had to figure. You know, I couldn't go out to lunch anytime I wanted to. I couldn't. You know, I had to wake up a certain time. You know, I was going sitting through traffic. I was, you know, I just felt like my life was just on repeat every single day. I don't know if you ever watched Groundhog Day, that movie
Yeah.
where it just repeats the same day over and over and over and over. That's how I felt. You know, I would wake up, take a shower, listen to the radio, drive to work, go to work, come home, watch TV, do it all again. And, you know, yeah, for some people, you know, if you're watching this, maybe that's the life you want. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want and that's what you love, fine. But you're watching this because you want something more. You're definitely here because you want to learn maybe how to create an income online and be able to work from home. You know, now I wake up, you know, I actually wake up early, not because I have to go to work, it's because I want to work out. You know, that's the choice that I have, these simple little things. You know, I don't have to worry about traffic because right now we have the Pan Am games here and it's busy, right? People want to watch games. There's a special lane just for the Pan Am people, so the traffic is horrendous. And I didn't know because all I see is people on Facebook complaining about the traffic, and I'm like, well, I'm glad I don't have to sit through traffic, right? I mean, you know, my mission really is to be able to work from home, live the life that I want. I don't want anything flashy, you know. I don't really care for the flashy cars and houses, you know. I just want to be able to travel and inspire others to do the same, right? I want to help you be able to live your life. Maybe you want the flashy cars. Maybe you want to spend more time with your family. Maybe you want to bring a spouse home. You know, maybe you want to quit your job. Maybe you want to, you know, climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I have no clue. But there's some dreams and wants that you have, and I believe that if you can see it in your head, then it's possible for you to make it become a reality, right? I mean, look at Regina. She decided in January that she wanted to move to Kauai, and she made it happen, right? I mean, I told myself I was going to live in Hawaii for the winter, and I just made it happen, and people thought I was nuts, right? They, you know, everyone thinks I'm crazy, like my family, my friends, they think I'm nuts, right? But it never stopped me. You know, there was days where I felt like maybe I am crazy, but you know, I just kept going because I really wanted to go, right? And you're gonna have friends and family who are gonna think you're nuts. Who's gonna laugh at you? Who's gonna make fun of you? But you just keep going because you can't please everyone. Not everyone's going to resonate with you. You only want to resonate with people who have a big dream, who want, you know, big changes in their lives, and who's ready to take that action, right? Maybe you see a button below and you're like, well, maybe today's the day I'm going to click that button and start my new life. Maybe today's the day, you know, that I'm going to start creating the life that I truly deserve, right? I mean, life is too short. You never know what's going to happen. You could die tomorrow, you know. It's possible. I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm just saying, what if today was the last day of your life? How would you want to live it, right? You want to live it just, you know, doing the boring, monotonous, you know, routine you have every single day, or do you want to be able to fight for something that's worth fighting for, which is freedom, you know? They always say freedom is expensive because not everyone actually fights for it, right? Only a small percentage. Only a small percentage. You want to change that. You want to be able to have more people fighting for freedom, right? That's why so many people would rather work a job, because they would rather, you know, use their time to make money, rather have money work for them. I remember one person at my job quit because my boss is a dick, right? Well, you know, yeah, my boss is a dick, right? That was another reason why I wanted to get out of there. Like, he just never appreciated anything. And, you know, I don't want to talk about him because, like, it's been done and over with, and I wish the best for him. But at that time, you know, I was ready to, like, but, you know, just one guy who quit because my boss was being a dick to
What
him.
was your fulfillment originally? Like, what was, when you were working the job, what did you think, like, was fulfilling you when you were working?
Really, you know, the one thing that I really loved about my job was just really helping my customers, helping clients be able to just get their orders on time, be able to find things that can help them meet deadlines. And to me,
So,
I was happy with that because every time I talked to them, I've never met, like, you know, people who were just so appreciative, and I was, you know, I was happy just being appreciative, right? Saying, you know, you're the best. I don't know what I'd do without you. You know, my life would be like, you know, crazy if you weren't in the picture. Just little simple, you know, actions of appreciation, right? And I'm okay with that. I'm happy that, you know, they're able to get what they want. But, you know, there was something. Sorry, back to my story. You know, this one guy quit, right? Because my boss was being a dick to him. You know, he was going through some tough times, and my boss didn't understand. He just kept on hammering him for sale numbers and quotas, and you know, that's another thing, especially when you're in a sales job. You know, your boss hammers you with quotas, and you know, they just pressure you. They just want more and more and more and more from you, right? And you get like, frustrated, right? So he got really frustrated because he was going through a rough time, right? Him and his wife, you know, were having a baby, and I think there was something wrong with the baby, and they weren't too sure if they could keep the baby or not. So imagine what's going through your head, right? You're not even sure if you're gonna have a baby that's alive or dead, and then there's another side who's being a dick, asking what your sales quotas are, right? So you know, he had it. He just said, "I quit. I quit." He just sent an email. 2 minutes later, he just said, "I quit." And he told my other boss, he said, "You know what? He doesn't own me. He just rents my time, right? Nobody owns you in your job. They're just renting your time. You have to realize that, and that is why it's so crucial to build a business. You know, I believe building a business online is the best way because you can build your business from anywhere in the world with an internet connection. You can be in Hawaii, you can be in Asia. You know, every time I travel, you know, I can work on my business, you know, a couple hours a day. It doesn't matter what time zone because there's people like who can look into your offer because they can search for an internet, especially when you have like a blog or a website or you know different pages that people can search for and just you know maybe enter their email and know more about it. You know what's amazing? Waking up from commissions. You know, making money while I sleep. I fall asleep a lot, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna tell my head when I'm sleeping, I better be making money, right? Because whatever you implant in your head becomes true, or the universe or God, whoever you believes in, find ways to do that. So, you know, if you're working at a job and you freaking hate it, and all you do is complain how much your job sucks, like everybody else, because I hear it from everybody. When I hear people complain about their jobs, even when I had a job, I never complained about it, right? I only complained about when I was in the job with my coworkers, because that's it, right? That was my only time I would do that. But outside, I would never mention my job. I would never mention anything because I didn't want to bring that negativity outside of workplace, right? Because that stuff spreads like it's like poison, and I never wanted that in my life. So, you know, when people ask me how my job was, it's fine, right? All I say, it's fine, it's good. But really, I was like dreading it, right? You know, you ever just like go into work and you see that door and you're like, fuck, you know, like you're just like, fuck, you know, I gotta go in there again, or your alarm wakes up and you're like, fuck, you know, I'm sorry, but I know you feel that way because you're watching this video. There's a reason why you're watching this video, but we've all gone through it. I've gone through it. I'm sure Regina has gone through it. I'm sure John Paul and Alicia has gone through it. You have this you know, this feeling like, oh, I can't do this anymore. Like there has to be a better way, and there is. That you're watching it because we're showing you that there is a better way. You know, you don't have to deal with douchebags of a boss. You don't have to deal with, you know, catty coworkers. You know, I had like the cattiest coworkers ever. You know, these two women were just jealous of everything I did, and I was always, you know what, I was never mean to them. I was always nice to them because, you know, there's no need to stoop down to that level, right? Because when I left, you know, they regretted everything they ever did to me. You know, they were like, you know, she was really nice, and then, you know, like, why would you want to stoop to that level, right? You always want to kill them with kindness. That's what I always say. Kill them with kindness. Yeah, there's days where I'm human. There's days where sometimes I just want to like slap them across the face. Don't get me wrong, but you know, there's no need to stoop to that level. You know, there's so many things you can do working from your home. You know, I see happy single moms being able to spend time with their kids. I see, you know, people traveling to Bali to Barcelona, you know, to Hawaii. I see people, you know, announcing they quit their jobs. I see people, you know, doing new ventures because they started out with an online business, right? You know, you never know where an online business can take you, right? You may think right now you're doing this online business and you're like, oh, I don't see any results. I don't know if this will really work. Well, think about it. You know, it took what's his name, Thomas Edison, 10,000 ways not to find a light bulb to work. You know, I just found out the guy who created Angry Birds took like 50 times before, you know, his game even went into $1 billion business, right? He was almost up to bankruptcy, and he just tried one more time to get it done. So, you know, sometimes success might not come right away, but if you work on it daily, do these little small actions consistently, daily, persistently, you know, you can do it. things will happen. Like things will, yeah, sometimes at first you can't see it, right? And you know, we all get frustrated. It's not, you know, sometimes like I get frustrated. I'm sure everyone else in the panel does, but you know where you're going. You have a big mission. You have a vision that's so wide that you can push through those things. You can push through the frustration, the pain, because you know that you're here to help others be able to live a better life. You're here to show them what's possible, and you're showing them proof that, you know, people, ordinary people like us here can live extraordinary lives. So, you know, and I was, you know, when Alicia said that, you know, you had to hide your business from your coworkers, I did that. You know, I blocked everyone from my work on Facebook, and I never mentioned anything. And it was so funny because, like, I have videos on the internet and they can search that. I was so stupid, but at that time I was so scared, right? Now I don't care, but you know, these are some of the dumb things you do when you have a job, right? You don't want them knowing. You don't want them to think you're crazy. And I had that, you know, like at that time I was still afraid of what other people thought. But now, you know, I don't really care anymore. I'm at the point where if someone doesn't like me, they don't like me. Not, you know, whatever. Right? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's funny that you say that, because it's also about the way, I've discovered this over time, the way that we word what we do as well to certain people. You know, if people say, oh, do you do anything else? And you say, oh, yeah, I do this internet thing, they're going to be like, oh, you know, and that kind of sounds a little dodgy to me, I mean, for lack of a better word. But if you say, you know, we run an online business from home where we teach people how to market online, and we teach people how to, you know, live their life through freedom and all sorts of different explanations like that, I've found that it will strike up a conversation. They'll be like, oh, really? You know, what do you teach? You know, what products do you have? Like, what kind of marketing do you do? And, you know, what are the types of results that you can create? It starts a conversation. So it's all about, for a regular person in a job, it is all about the way we frame how we describe what we do. I think that's really crucial. But straight off the bat, you know, without thinking, you'll probably just say, you know, I'm doing this internet thing, or, you know, and to the normal person, or the average person, that sounds kind of like, oh, you know.
Well, I've met, you know, I worked, my regular job was down in San Francisco, and every day, almost constantly every day, I would meet someone from a tech company at some point throughout my day. You know, I met these, a group of guys that came in, and they were from a very reputable and well-known tech company in the Bay Area. I'm not going to say, well, oh, then I'll say it. It was a group of guys from Salesforce came in, and they said they were, you know, I understood, they had the jackets on, they had the shirts on and everything. I was like, oh, you guys work for Salesforce, that's cool, what do you guys do? Not one of them could give me an actual explanation on exactly what the hell they did. They couldn't tell me what what the basis of their company was. They couldn't tell me what it basically was that they stood for, anything. And I was really blown away, and I was like, so are you guys in like the marketing side of it, like the business development side of it, the affiliate side of it? Like, well, we're kind of doing some of the programming for it. And I was like, okay, well, you know, and they just totally shut off it all. Like, and they couldn't really explain what it was that they did. Now, if I'm the store manager, and what if I was actually the owner? If I'm a business owner, and I were to come in, so I'm basically potentially a client for them, and they came in and they didn't know how to even word their what it was that they did. They could have said, hey, we're building a multi-billion-dollar company part-time on the side. We're the programmers behind it. This stuff is really kick-ass. It's revolutionary. We're going to be taking the world by storm. You know, this is some of the stuff we've already done. We're on a roll right now. You know, what do you think of that? Totally changes the conversation. Wasn't even there, you know. And I was just like, man, what a missed opportunity. And every day, there's people that actually don't know how to talk about their business. And by the mental things that we do, by hiding like our friends on Facebook, our coworkers on Facebook, and things like that, I've been there. I mean, I've done that. I mean, I have totally been there. The people that didn't support me, that were in my job, that didn't support me, and if I had them on Facebook at all, block, 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 block. Only recently did I realize I still had a bunch of people blocked, and I didn't even know it, and I forgot all about it, and I went back through and was like, oh, unblock, 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 I don't care. You know, but that's the kind of weird mental stuff that we'll go through because we allowed other people to just imprison us on our own dream. And I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. Like, the self-talk that we give to ourselves, You know, that's fear motivating that action. That's what that is. And you know, it's kind of it was just a real eye opener, like what you said. But that's the weird kind of stuff that we'll go through. Is, you know, what Alicia was saying. You know, it sounds totally different on how we talk about what it is that we do. You know, and you know, we build our fortune part time. You know, some people it really is the amount of work sometimes that you do. Sometimes it is part time work, really is. But the payoff though is there's no ceiling on it. You don't have a corporate ceiling now. You know, there's not one where it says, oh, well, my sales volume has to be here for X amount of years before I can move up to this position, or that. None of that's there. You get paid for all of your efforts that you put into it, because it's a direct correlation of the value that you're providing to everybody, and that's what's great. As you grow and as you develop and as your value goes up, you get paid appropriately for it. You know where you stand, and that's what's really, really good. There's never an in between of like, well, I don't really know. Well, you know pretty fast. You know.
Yeah, and that's just proof. When people can't describe what they do at their job, that just shows, to me, shows that they're pretty much just sleepwalking their way through their life and just coming in for their paycheck when they don't even know what they do there and how to describe it to somebody. And I think most of the time that's because that isn't their vision. That's not their creation. I think that's a lot of the time why people respond that way, because it's not their passion. It's not who they are.
Yeah, I think the stat that Regina was looking for earlier was, I think it's you spend 50% of your time building somebody else's dream, 33% of your time sleeping, then you have 17% of your time left over of your actual own time to enjoy all that labor that you put in for other people. So enjoyment is, and that that enjoyment is just not there. You know, it's really, what can you do? You know, I think that was the stat. It's something, and that's mind-boggling when you look at it.
It is, and the amount of hours. If people were to right now, if you're watching this right now and you do have a job, add up the amount of hours per week that you drive to and from your job, and remember, you don't get paid for that. You know, unless I know some people have companies where they have their own company car and they get their gas paid for, which is pretty cool. But most people don't have those luxuries. How many hours are you spending on your commute back and forth to work that you're not getting paid for? Work that out in a week, and then work that out for the month, and then work that out for the year, and see how many hours you just did not get paid driving to and from your job. And that figure alone would be mind-boggling to a lot of people. Yeah,
it's enough to be at least like a college semester, you know, or like, so it's ridiculous what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and when I asked Sheena earlier about what her fulfillment was while she was working, here's what was interesting. She didn't bring up the benefits package. She didn't bring up the pay. She didn't bring up the, you know, anything else what's normally included in some jobs. The vacation time that you get. You know, none of those were the things that were what was fulfilling to her. And yet every day it's like, oh, well, you know, I get 2 weeks paid vacation a year, I get holidays off, whatever it is. It's not like that was important. Those weren't the things that she found fulfilling, and it's always like that too. It's not that kind of stuff that's fulfilling to people. What she said was fulfilling was really helping the customers and really feeling fulfilled with the interaction I had with them. It was the relationships that were built. And that's why Sheena's been very highly successful now, is because she's a relationship builder. She values those relationships, and she crafts them, and she cares for people. You know, and that's what she values. And those are the really good traits that most people have at their core. Is most people like that interaction. You know, it's not really about anything else. You know, and that's what was always interesting to me, is where people get fulfillment. It's not really in all the little perks that come with the company. You know, it's not really those things. What did she say? I wasn't even appreciated by my bosses. I wasn't even acknowledged. You know, and that's a crappy feeling sometimes. You know, that's a real crappy feeling to have.
Yeah, because as human beings, we all want validation. We all want to feel significant. And you know, when you mentioned, Sheena, about your coworker, like with the problems at home with the baby and such, horrific circumstances, and you've got your boss breathing down your neck for sales that you're probably not making any money from, and he finally said enough is enough, and that's usually what turns most people. They hit rock bottom and they go, look, I won't deal with this anymore. Enough is enough. I'm quitting. I mean, I'm not sure whether he moved on to a different position. I hope everything turns okay. But yeah, I'm sure he moved on to something else that was a lot more fulfilling because he had the guts to stand up and say, enough is enough. I won't be treated like this as a human being, basically. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and for some, I know this might be a little bit controversial, but job is still a form of slavery when you see it. When you're doing work for someone else and they still tell you what to do. I mean, that's what it is. Just modern day slavery, and some people may take that the wrong way. But when you don't have the freedom to even go to the bathroom, think about it. I mean, it's not as horrendous as slavery back in the day, but it's still some form of it. And the guy who did quit, he did go on to something better, and that's another thing people need to realize. Just because when one door closes doesn't mean it's gone. When one door closes, another one opens, right? I mean, I used to be that way. I used to think there was nothing else left for me, and my other boss, who's always been nice to me, he just said, I don't know what you're worried about. Just remember, when one door closes, another one opens. I want you, whoever's watching this, to realize when one door closes, another one opens. Maybe you got laid off from a job. Maybe you got fired. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe you're meant for something better, right? I mean, I was able to, like Alicia was saying, sitting in traffic. You don't get paid to do that. But what if you had an online business, right? You're building it part-time. You're sitting in traffic. Your phone starts beeping because you just made a commission while you're sitting in traffic. I mean, isn't that the best feeling ever? I mean, when you can work smart. You have money now. You may have some extra money that's bulging out of your pocket, bulging out of your wallet. Start investing in something that's going to make you 2, 3, 4 times the money that you're making now. Now, results will always vary because I don't know what your work ethic is. Not everyone is, the same. But if you start now, build that business, and you can quit one day and start doing the things you love, why not start doing that? You think people like Donald Trump and all of them just started the business out of nowhere? Of course, they found capital to fund their businesses. They say if you were to invest in a franchise business, you would have to spend 5 times the amount of money you would make per year, right? So if you wanted to make $100,000 a year, you would have to spend $500,000. Not everyone can spend $500,000, right? Our business is probably like 1% of that, right, to invest in, and you can still have the ability to make a 6-figure income, right? I want you to realize, things need to change if you want different results. It's not going from job to job to job to job to job, right? Like what Alicia and John Paul said, it's not job hopping, right? It's just doing something totally different, having a business, right? Even if you don't join with us, even just creating your own business, that's fine. It's better than slaving away at a job, right? I just say our products are great because I've seen a lot of people who are in business for themselves, who do have an actual brick and mortar business, be able to increase their profits because they use what we have in our products, right? And that's why I like suggesting them, because there's results, there's proven results.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Did you have some stats you wanted to share?
Well, I just basically ran some math. I wanted to know how much time I actually used to spend driving. And if you spent 1 hour a day driving to work and then from work, 2 hours a day, whether that's traffic, bus, whatever, time getting ready, all-inclusive, over the course of 1 year, that's over 21 and a half days of what that is just in commuting. 21 and a half days. So I'm pretty sure that 21 and a half days, I could learn a pretty darn good skill if I really put myself down to it. If I just buckled down and put my mind to it, all that time spent, if I wanted to learn how to do, let's say, some CPC advertising or something, something to grow my business or, work for me, that's some good time spent that I'd love to have back. That's a lot of days, That's a lot of days.
It is.
Yeah, 21 and a half days.
And I would say on average that's what majority of people spend going to and from work and getting ready. If you are out there,
that's
calculate
a
it for yourself. You probably don't want to. Most people probably don't want to think about it, but go ahead right now and do the calculation that John Paul did. It's really astounding when you.
Yeah, that's just over the course of a year. Let's see, 21.66. I just want to do this in the long math. Let's do let me just see what the traditional retirement type stuff looks like. It's like 500. It's over 541 days if you did 25 years of that. That's not fun.
That's well over a year.
Oh yeah,
worth of time
year and a half.
You didn't get paid for. And when I say that, it's not actually about the money. Like, you're not getting paid for that, but that could be something that you're building for you and your family to create the life that you really want, because that's what the money actually does. It's not actually about the physicality of the money. It's that time could have been spent building something that you and your family deserve to have.
Yeah, if I'm on my deathbed and I look back at it and say, hey, there's what do most people want back, and it's just one more day, it's one more time, it's one more little bit of time. All the billionaires in the world, some of their dying stuff has been like, what would they do with all their money? They said, just give me some more time. That's all they want.
Yep.
One more time, because normally, you don't get that's a luxury. You don't really get to plan when you're going to die. You don't really have that luxury of planning it out and saying, hey, will you come to my death when I die? Will you be there at my bedside? You don't plan for that stuff,
Well, nobody ever said I wished I would work more, or I had worked my job more, or spent more time at my job, right?
Yeah, like, oh man, I really wish I would have pushed harder for that.
Yeah, I didn't work enough overtime, darn it.
Yeah. Yep. If only I clocked in one more day. Shucks.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah. If only I had made a little bit more money for the owner of the company,
Yeah.
Sheena's had to head out, but that's okay.
Yeah, looks like she had a small emergency she had to go take care of. So, Sheena, we love you. Thanks for coming out.
Yes,
we will talk with you later.
Yeah.
Here's something that came up for me while I've been listening is that there was a time in my job where I had to work the job, but I wanted out, and I found what we do now. I found the online world. I found a way to, and the cool thing is, like Sheena said, she loved what she did. Well, because I knew there was a way out, and I was working on how to get there, it made the job better. Does that make sense? Like I knew I could buy my time. It's like, okay, I could go to work, because even though maybe it's difficult, stressful, challenging, coworkers, whatever, I still knew that the out was coming. Mm-hmm. And for me, it happened. It didn't happen quite how I'd planned. I just made a drastic decision to cut it and go. But for people out there who are understanding what we're saying, but they're just thinking like, oh my God, that's just terrifying, is sometimes just starting to work on the plan, just knowing there is a way out, even if it takes you 2 years, 5 years, or even 10, sometimes just taking small baby steps. First of all, by clicking the button below and starting there, but taking baby steps and working towards an exit plan when you're ready, doesn't have to be drastic, is huge, because you can go to work knowing that, hey, it's kind of like one of those jobs where, I think John Paul, maybe on the last hangout you mentioned it, where you had a job and it was come to where you were going to have to leave it, but you're like, cool, I got something else going on. Kind of that thing where you're going like, hey, it's all good, because you're leaving. There's an exit plan. And you can just take so much more, because you can look at the boss who's being a jerk, and you can just kind of smile and go, someday I'm leaving, right? And so I thought of that a lot when was listening, is that for a lot of people, just knowing that there's a way out and that you can work it at your own pace, kind of like going to online university or something. You can do it at your own pace and make that move when you're ready. And for those that are super analytical and just can't imagine just biting the bullet and doing it, you can plan it. You can have a plan, and you can work it a little bit by little bit. So I just want to throw that out there for somebody who's like, this all sounds great, and yeah, everything you say is true, but just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up, Regina, because I think that's really important. A lot of people think that, they just have to quit their job immediately and get started online, and that's not what we're suggesting at all. What we're really suggesting is just hitting the button below and getting started right now. And as Regina said, taking baby steps. There are many people within our community that we know of that build their business part-time while they're working full-time. They'll get up in the morning. They might spend 30 minutes to an hour, like sending out an email, writing a blog post, doing some sort of income-producing activity. Then they'll work all day. They'll come home. Maybe they'll do another hour before they go to bed. If you can commit to, 30 minutes to an hour, 2 hours a day, each day, or even 5 days a week, just make a plan, you'll be starting to build. And as Regina said, it's a great feeling knowing that you have this thing going on in the background that everybody doesn't really know about yet, or does know about, that you're building something. And to know that there is something else out there. You're not going to be...
walk around with your head a little bit taller.
And we have a really cool system. Maybe we didn't mention that this is not like, hey, sign up, here's your link and have fun. We have a system that you mentioned, coming home after an hour and sending emails and people are like, what? Well, our system actually gives you most of that. There's a little bit of activity to do, right? And then, teaming up with us, we walk them through how to do this system. So maybe people are going like, oh my God, an hour, that sounds like a lot. But when you have a system that all you have to do is just follow these steps, do these things. And as you get better and more experienced, you can start to kind of massage that into your own thing and get more customized. But we have a system that they can plug into that will show them exactly what to do if they only have an hour a day.
Yeah. I've literally been the guy who's working, the 16-hour day, come home and put an iPad in the bathroom while I soaked in the tub because I was tired, and I just learned. I relaxed a little bit, but I had stuff going. I had stuff out that I understood. I was relaxing a little bit, just clearing my head, but I was always constantly having those things going on with me and just letting the system educate me along the way. Those were always something that I didn't try to make any. I'll say it. There was times where I tried to be my own worst enemy. I tried to make excuses for myself. I was the person that did that, and I went through some ups and downs, just like anybody else. I did. And what I was actually going to start doing was I was actually going to start journaling. What it was that I was going to start doing. Over the course of the next 90 days on how I did certain things and what my day looked like, and just say, hey, I was just going to create a separate blog about it, and just let people check out, hey, this is what I was doing. This was some of the results, and just throw it out there just so people can kind of get an idea of what that looked like, from basically a day in the life of. And
that's one of the cool things about working with you as a leader, because people that join you, either of you, and me too, people that join us are going to have the benefit of kind of being guided in away from things that we walked into because we didn't know. So all that learning curve that we've done, we can actually show our team, hey, don't go there. Here's a more direct route. So when people click that button below and get started with this, they have the benefit and the advantage of bypassing. And with John Paul, especially if you're working a job, then you have the opportunity to see when he does this with the blog and shares, you're going to see how it is possible to fit building a business, building your legacy, building a dynasty into your plan, even if you've got, I was working 10-hour shifts. Some people work 10, 12-hour shifts. It is possible. And so that's the benefit for those who are still on the fence, is that you've got 3 people here, and Sheena too. She's also definitely a good leader who can show you how to do it because of what we've been through already. I believe all of us have been around this long enough that we know how to get past those landmines that most people get into. And so that's just another bonus, unadvertised bonus of getting started with by clicking that button. And I forget the color. Is it green or something like that?
Yes, it's still green. Yes.
Okay. Click it. So anyway, just want to throw that 2 cents in there.
Yeah, that's definitely I'm telling you, people out there, that is a huge bonus, because there are many, many things that we can all share with you that weren't shared with us when we first got started. Yeah. I mean, the list is probably a mile long, and that's not because we didn't have great sponsors or mentors or leaders or anything like that. that's just because, you know, we went out there, we dug in the trenches and figured things out ourselves. We took the initiative. So
yeah, a lot of it too is we were taught in a certain way, and a lot of it is, you know, you're taught in a way that to respect your time and to respect other people's time in a way too. So a lot of how we set certain things up, there will, at least when you ask the reason, well, why is it done that way? I can give you an honest answer of why it was done that way, and then normally you go, oh, well, that makes sense that it was done that way. Now I see why it was that way. As a kid, you say why? Well, because I said so. Not with us, you know. It's not because I said so. It's because here's the reason behind it. You know, in really compressing time. You know, you can really compress time through the success of others and through the failures of others as well. And you know, one of the big things that I always said from the beginning is I learned how to fail, and I learned how to fail fast. Because the more times I failed, the faster I got at building the success up, you know, and just seeing what the result from things and moving forward, you know. But it starts by, too, like Rena said, you just got to click the green button below. You got to say, you know, today's the day that I'm going to start building my business part-time. I'm going to start building onto my legacy and start chipping away at it, because a day wasted is, you know, $1 wasted. It really is. You don't get that time back. You don't get it back.
Yeah.
At all.
So true. And ask yourself right now, what is your dream? What is that? Leave it in the comments below. Let us know. What is your dream? And I find when I ask people this question, a lot of people find it very difficult to answer. Ask yourself, what is your dream? Write it down. Leave it in the comments below. Spend the next couple of days with the people that you meet and the people that are around you, and ask them what their dream is and see what their response is. And I will often ask people that ask me what I do. And when they tell me what it is, I tell them, we can help you create that. I'm not guaranteeing that you will create that, but you can truly have that, and we can instill that belief in you. That's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a firm believer that if you put whatever it is that you really want in on paper, you put it down there, I guarantee you that I can actually at least put you in the right direction towards starting to get that. You know, that's the one thing I can guarantee. I can't guarantee a lot of things in life, but I can guarantee you, once you start putting down on paper what you want and you start sharing that with others, and, you know, I can point you in the right directions to help people. Most people get on the path of getting what they need. You know, being the middleman and the liaison for a lot of stuff, you know, I've really been through a lot and seen a lot in my life and met a lot of really good people, regardless of just in this business, you know, tons of different businesses and different niches and career paths and all kinds of stuff that, you know, I didn't think about it until the other day when I was like, wow, I actually have a lot of experience. And I didn't realize that I did. You know, a lot of times we just cheat ourselves a little bit. We downplay it until, you know, you don't know what you don't know, but you don't know what you want until you write it down. You know, the whole question of what do you want? Well, put it on paper. If it's a Porsche and you think that's what you want, well, I promise you that once you have it and you're driving it, you're going to, well, is this really what I wanted? Not really. But, you know, there's a lot of other freedoms and things that will come with it. But hey, if that's your thing, cool. Put it down on paper, you know, at least we can put you on that path towards starting to get that. You know, we can give you the vehicle that starts you on that path to get that. You know, but click the button below. You have to start somewhere. You know, and this is not really just one of those things where you just get your foot in the door. I don't believe just get your foot in the door. I believe kick the door down and take what you want. You know, take it, you know, because get your dreams. You know, there's no reason why you can't have them.
Yeah. And as they say, you know, you don't have to be great to get started, but you do have to start to be great. And you don't want to, it's a good one, isn't it?
Oh, that's done.
You know, you don't want to hit the age of 75 and pass away knowing that you really did die when you were 25 because you lived a life
I don't want to live till
going
75.
to a job. I know 75 in
That's
that.
young.
When Benjamin Franklin said that quote, I thought, 75 is a little bit
people
young.
didn't live that long back then.
But yeah, I was going to say people didn't live that long back then.
Like
But now,
typhoid fever and whatever it is.
yeah, but now we have the ability to live over the age of 100, and whatever age it is, you don't want to look back and say to yourself, well, you know, I kind of died when I was 25 because I stopped dreaming and I just lived and paid bills, and now I'm about to die. I mean, to me, that's not even an existence worth living. You don't want to live that way. So just hit that button below, get started, and we'll get you on the path to achieving your dreams. So with that being said, we'll see you same time, same place next week.
Yeah. Regina, thanks again for coming out. Sheena as well. If you're watching the replay again, thanks for coming out. We love you. We appreciate you.
Yeah, we love our panelists that join us each and every week. We ourselves get so much on these hangouts. You know, it's we do these for you guys out there watching, but we also benefit so much from the value that we all share here. And once you get inside, you never know, you may have the opportunity to get on here with us and share this time with us as well and share our message. So with that being said, we'll see you all same time, same place next week.